I came to tell you who you are, to tell you why he came, to tell you that you have qualified through him. You have been made complete through him. I came to tell you the good news, that you are lacking no good thing except maybe some understanding or some yielding to some things. But you have been given everything through the Son. It is the Father's good pleasure, not grudgingly, good pleasure to give you the kingdom. It's good. So you got to get this and say, you know what? Jesus came to redeem me, restore me, to put me back into original value, to put his life in me, his nature in me, his ways in me. In the Old Testament, his ways weren't my ways. In the New Testament, we're one. He has seated me in heavenly place in Christ Jesus, and the Christ in me is the hope of glory, and the things he did, I'm called to do. Man, he said, I'm one with him. He's the expressed image of the Father, the outraying of his brightness, and the expressed image of who he is, and I'm one with him, and he's in me. Come on, that is not presumptuous. That's not heresy. That's the word of the Lord. I want you to see something amazing in John 20. It's just amazing. Because in Genesis 1:26, what did God say? Let us make man. So where did man come from? Mud puddle? The bug that evolved into something and eventually a monkey and then a man? It's just so weird, all those theories. You say, well, it's pretty weird that God just breathed into dirt. No, he's God. That's what makes him amazing. He breathes into dirt with vision and purpose and heart. And a man stood up. Ah! Now, we say we believe that, but I wonder. Because then when something else happens, you got boo-boo, you got a little pain, and it's real. Come on. I wish we'd get a revelation. He breathed into dirt, and a man stood up. I remember the first time that hit me a long time ago, like hit me. And I don't use it as a method because it hit me. It was a moment of revelation. As a little girl, she was 14. She had her jaw sealed shut with calcium deposits from a thing called TMJ, and her bone became one solid mass, and there was no joint in her jaw. Because of her growth platelets and her age, they had to wait till she was 18 to manually break it and try to put an artificial joint in there. In the meantime, this one popped out of joint. She's talking like her jaw's wired, and she's sipping broth through a straw for the next 4 years. That's real. That's real. Enter the gospel and things can change. Not making light of it. It's real. It's costing her. It hurts. Sometimes we don't see things just shift and change. But like you said, which I agree 1,000%, we ought to go for it. We ought to get our hands on as many people as we can. Something I also heard Randy Clark say. He said it a long time ago when I was hanging out with him. He said, I'm convinced of this. If we just pray for as many people as we can, we'll just see more things. I'm like, yeah. we always make it about what didn't happen and write a book and decide God's will. What about going for it and building on what he's doing? What about never letting go of faith? Yeah? Yeah. I was right in the middle of a story. Yeah, I know. I'm just not sure if I should finish it. It's just fun, so I was telling it. I'm just wondering if I should finish it or if it's taking precious time from me. So I was just listening. I'll be quick with you. I went to pray for her. Moms are great. Moms are the best. But what this mama did, she did like most mamas would do. She's thinking, okay, this guest speaker is going to pray for my girl. This is crunch time. This is the moment. It's either going to happen or it isn't. And I step up to pray for her, which I don't do much anymore. In that season, I did way too much of that. It got me in a lot of trouble, actually. She starts crying hard right before we pray. It's just emotions. You understand it. And you're like, oh, bless her heart. And you're going to pray with this girl with all your heart, right? And right when you're ready to pray for her, It's the most serious moment. It's ridiculous. The girl's got tears in her eyes. She's 14. She can hardly talk. She's talking like this. She's just talking like this, and she's trying to tell me all about, and her teeth aren't even moving. They're just stuck together. She sticks her straw in there and drinks broth. Because of her growth platelets, they can't do anything. They're waiting till she's 18. That's tough. She's out of all her sports activities. They told me she doesn't play anything anymore because... And she's in a lot of pain because there's so much pressure on this sealed up calcium deposited bone that the other joint is popped out. You get it? I'm ready to pray for her. It's the most serious moment. And all of a sudden this thought comes to me from the Lord. It was just so real. I got silly and I giggled. It wasn't a weird ha 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 howling hyena laugh. It was just, I just started chuckling. And Mama's looking at me like, I really don't see anything funny right now. But it wasn't a ha-ha funny. It was a wow funny. This thought came to me. If God breathed into dirt and a man stood up, he can fix her jaw. And I got silly. And I just said to her, honey, if God breathed into dirt and a man stood up, he can fix your jaw. Now, I haven't traveled over the world and lined up all the sick and said that to everybody. It was just that moment. It was just for that moment. It was just a gifting. It was just ding, 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 ding. Now, that revelation has helped me a lot in situations. But I looked at her and I laughed. I took 2 fingers. I'll never forget it as long as I live. Well, I'll probably never forget it forever because it's on the ticker tape of heaven. Because it brought glory to his name. Oh, it'll never go away. Oh, wait, I'm having a moment. 14 years old, precious little thing. Your heart goes out to her. It's not hard to feel a lot of stuff. Put your 2 fingers on the side of her jaw and you say, if God, he can fix your jaw. And you put your fingers there, and as soon as you touch her, you don't say a word. You hear through your fingers. Come on. It was so weird. It was like, and I went, God just broke your jaw. That's exactly what I said. God just broke your jaw. She went, and tears just flooded her eyes. I said, does it hurt? I said, why are you crying? She said, because I felt it. I said, you felt it break? She said, yeah. I could feel it vibrate through my fingers. It just, and I said, well, honey, same giggle. If he broke your jaw, he's fixing it. He didn't break it to break it. Just open your mouth. We never prayed. Just open your mouth. Oh, come on. Instantly. Never prayed. Revelation. Boom. Mama is a mess. So that was a Saturday night. They don't do Sunday church. So the following week, I'm doing church at our church. And it was my week to preach. I was preaching. And I'm there preaching my great sermon. It had to be good. And I looked out, way out in here, and I just spotted the face of that little girl from the meeting the week before. I just saw her face, and right beside her's Mama. And they're just listening to me preach, thinking, this is great. They just love me. And I said, right in the middle of my great sermon, I went, hey. And everybody's like, what is he doing now? And she went, and I said, that's exactly what I did. And she went, I said, get up here. She come running up with her mama. Her mama's crying already. She tells the sweetest story. She said, God is so good. She told about her jaw and what happened, and everybody's freaking out, which we should. And then she said, God is so good. She said, you prayed for me Saturday night, and it was amazing. And Monday, I went to school, and she said, I've been sipping broth. And she said, but I went to get the menu. And she said, I looked, and here it's like something I absolutely do not like and don't want to eat. So I glanced at the alternate menu, and I said, oh, that'll work. And all of a sudden I looked, and there was this little 4-inch corn on the cob. And she said, I sat there and thanked the Lord and just ching, ching. God is so good. One little revelation. I mean, sometimes I know we don't see that bang pop. Sometimes I think we struggle. I think our minds, our hearts are so, and we feel for the, right? It's just, there's no amount of that's going to fix her jaw. It's just not. You don't see Jesus doing all that. You don't see Jesus going, rise, take your bed and walk. Oh, yes. Oh. I just don't think we're quite in the place that he was. So we probably should stop tossing all our theological ideas around based on outcome. And we should probably let him be the truth and follow him. Probably be a good idea. I don't think he said, stretch forth your hand. Oh, yes, God. Ah, you're so awesome. You did it. No, he's one with the Father. There's authority. He sees it. Stretch forth your hand. He's not going, oh, yeah. There's such an element of surprise with us. It's not just an honor thing. It's an element of surprise. It's a, whoo, yeah. Because you prayed for 10 people and you didn't see much, and all of a sudden somebody says they're healed, and you go, really? There's no pain? Come on, I've been around us a lot. I've been around me. And we're learning and growing if we don't keep changing our mind. We don't keep changing what we believe based on what we've experienced. But if we look at his life and settle on truth, we'll get there. If we stop arguing and fighting because we're in pain, frustration, loss. Let's stop being enemies. Let's stop defending the loss of someone and the insult of, what are you saying? I didn't have faith? You could hear that and nobody's even saying it. Sometimes, unfortunately, people say it. I'm sorry they say that. The sick person has every right to look at the person. The person praying can't say, well, honey, you just need to get more faith. No, the sick person should say, well, you said Christ is in you. How about giving him to me? So it's a dead-end street to go back and forth and blame shift, and they need faith. Well, they should have. Well, they didn't have no anointing. Well, they stop. Let's just throw that all away. And let's get in this level playing ground and just keep going after what he accomplished because he's good. Yeah? Yeah. Let me just show you something here. Oh, my goodness, where's time go? I preach out this a lot. I want you to do Genesis 1:26. Let us, what? In our image. In verse 27, what did he do? So God made man in his image, both male and female. In his likeness, he made them. Both male and female, in his likeness. So women, like common belief, you're not here. The Bible doesn't teach you're here to serve the man. Your highest goal is his image. You're here for his likeness. The only reason you make the man complete because you're an avenue of expression and flow of love. You don't make the man complete because he had deficit. He had nowhere to go with who he was. Hello? God makes man in his image and has the same problem he had before he made man. He makes man to express himself and reveal himself on the earth, but now where's the man go? Without the woman, they can't multiply. Without the woman, there's no even avenue of expression. What's he going to do? Forgive the zebra? Show mercy to the elephant? No, he looks around and he says, man, everybody has somebody comparable. This guy doesn't have anybody comparable. What's he do? He puts him in a deep sleep and reaches into him. He doesn't make another lump of clay. You're not a separate lump of clay, women. He reaches into the fullness of God in the man, the completeness of the image of God, the created value of everything he was. He reaches into that man who is a finished and complete work. He reaches into the man and brings out what was one so they could be two, so two could be one. That's phenomenal. He didn't do it because he's lonely. He did it because he's fulfilled. You think he made the woman because man was lonely and he needed a hookup? That would be, then God would be empowering all this craziness we experience today. No, he's pure and holy. To know the love of Christ is to be filled with all the fullness of God. There's nothing incomplete about that. Think about how people hook up today. Not getting any younger, lonely. Wow, he likes me. Wow, she's really hot. Well, I'd love to have some kids. I think he'll do. Kind of like his chin. There's some weird stuff going on. And then there's I love you. Do you love me? And what your dead giveaway is, you don't love, you need. None of that was from the beginning. I tell people, I say, look, if there's a woman in a man's life scripturally, from the beginning, it ought to be because of the fullness of God in the man. Not because she's hot. Not because he's lonely or she's lonely or insecure or honored that he wants her. If there's a woman in a man's life according to Genesis, it's because there was fullness in the man. I think only in that place could he love her like Christ loves the church. I think men only in that place were ready to love her like Christ loves the church. I guess if we don't have that place, maybe we just need her because she gives us something we need. Don't sell cheap, women. You're more than cooking meals and scratching itches. Don't be reduced. Don't compromise. I had a young lady tell me one time, well, there's no man out there you're describing. The one you're describing isn't out there. And she was frustrated. She kept slipping. She was young. She just slept with a boy and came to me crying. She just slept with a boy and she knew it wasn't her answer. And she went to bed defiled in her bed at night and cried. And she woke up and felt far from the Lord and felt dirty and felt all kinds of things because of her convictions. But yet she was driven by this needy thing. She came to me crying. She said, I know what you're going to tell me, Pastor. And she snapped on me. She said, you're going to tell me about this man? And she described the man that I've described to her a dozen times. And she said, the thing you have to realize, he is not out there. That man you're describing is not out there. And I'm like, so I just gently reached across the picnic table and I squeezed her elbow. And as she was freaking out, I kept squeezing a little tighter and tighter. And she realized I was squeezing tight. And she just stopped and got her attention. I leaned in with the most gentle voice, but full of passion. I said, so what? Because he's not out there, you compromise, you sell cheap, you defile your conscience and wake up ashamed over and over? Or do you position yourself to be a prize to be won and make a draw on Christ in a man? Or do you just keep selling cheap and get on the half-off rack? Ooh, a little uncomfortable in here. I feel it. No, I feel it. It's nervous. I can feel the atmospheres. People are nervous. So what do? Compromise truth to meet need? Or get fulfilled in him so your needs change? What do? Because you can't find somebody in love with Jesus, you just find somebody that's kind of in love with Jesus? and pay a price for that? Or do you stand your ground and be complete and secure in him and never enter into a relationship because you're needy? You enter into a relationship because you're fulfilled. What would that look like if a man knows who he is and he joins with a woman who knows who she is, and they're not driven by need, and they're both in love with the King? I bet that sounds like the beginning. What would that conception look like? What would that baby be? Oops. Yeah? Woohoo! Yeah. Man, the gospel just stirs me up. I think God had a really good vision from the beginning. I think man sinned and fell and lost that thing, and then we muddied it up all the more even. And sometimes I think we compromise and we make excuses for the things we need and want and desire and try to blend the gospel into who we are instead of become what he says. And all of a sudden you incorporate him into your life instead of him becoming your life. And all of a sudden he's part of your confession or part of your belief system instead of living from the inside.